Hello, hello, hello. How are you guys doing this evening? It is 3:09 a.m. and I just spent the last hour on Audible. I shouldn't have got on Audible. I ended up buying 3 extra credits, and then I went in and bought 4 books. I bought 3 books with my extra credits, and then I paid for the 4th book. That was about like the price of a credit. So, here's my other lip balm. I was looking at all these books on Audible, and I was trying to, I have both of these, but I'm gonna use my vanilla one. I'm gonna pull in here and tell you the books I bought. I was trying to pick a book for my Peterisms for March because I hadn't picked my Peterisms book yet for March. I need to get gas, but I'm not gonna get gas right now. So I was going in and I was looking at like motivational and inspirational books. That's like why I had gone in there. Plus I wanted to buy Butcher Baker because I wanted to start that tonight, which is the March book for the True Crime Book Club. So I went in and these are the books that I bought. Hold on a second. Are the originals for March out yet? I keep on looking to see if, no, they're not. I'm so excited for the March originals to come out. I'll tell you about that in just a second. But I got the In Between, which is an Audible original, and it's about this kid that they do this teleportation. It just came out. It only has 2 reviews on it, and they're both 5-star though, but that doesn't mean anything. It's by Michael Landweber, and it's about this couple that they have their kid do this teleportation experiment between the United States and Tokyo, and they think that he's died within the teleportation thing, but then other people think he's still alive. And then I got Butcher Baker by Walter Gilmore, which is the True Crime Book Club. And then I got Into the Raging Sea by Rachel Slade, which is about like a shipping vessel that went down in 2015 in the Bermuda Triangle in a hurricane. And it looks very much like A Perfect Storm, which is like one of my favorite movies. It was one of my mom's favorite movies too. And then I got Real Life by Brandon Taylor, which is supposed to be phenomenal. And it's like a coming of age story about this African-American gay kid from Alabama who is at school studying biochemistry at some Midwestern college, and it's like one weekend of his life, and how like the trajectory of his past like changes over the course of this weekend by people that he encounters. It's being heralded as like one of the best books of 2020, so I got that. I'm actually really, really excited to read that book. I haven't read much literary fiction in the last year, so I was like, you know what, I need to read some meaningful books. I mean, I've read some great books in the last year, but I need to read some books that have some intention and substance to them as well. So I love to read just to escape, but the book is deeper than that. I'm just giving you the short synopsis of the synopsis that it had. But anyway, I bought those 4 books, and I'm gonna start Butcher Baker tonight when I get done vlogging. I read 9 books in February. Can you even believe it? So I'm at 18 books, which is crazy because last year I think I read 40 total for the year. So I'm almost halfway through what I read last year, the entire year. Very proud of myself. Albeit the last couple books that I read were very short. They were the Audible originals, but I am loving these Audible originals. And did I tell you guys about the one called Across the Stars or Something with the Stars. It's about this 15-year-old girl. I should have just told you what it was called while I was in there. It's only like 3 hours long. I honestly don't know that I would, if I hadn't gotten it for free, I don't know that I would recommend somebody buying it unless it was super cheap. I'm gonna actually turn in here and tell you what it's called because I think some people would really enjoy it. I don't know, if it's like $1 or $2 or $3, like I would definitely recommend it to buy. But if it's like $11, I wouldn't recommend buying it because it's so short. Well, I guess it's no shorter than that Taylor Jenkins Reid book I read, which was like The End of the Affair, whatever, which was like an hour. Hold on a second. All titles. Alone with the Stars by David Gilham. And it doesn't say how long it was on here, but it was like 3 hours long. And it was so good, you guys. It was about this girl, and she's 15. Her name is Lizzie, and her mom has passed away. And it's her and her dad, and it takes place in 1937. And she's obsessed with Amelia Earhart. And so it's when Amelia Earhart is doing her... It's right before Amelia Earhart, supposedly her plane goes down. And her dad has this like huge, amazing transistor. Is that what it's called? Transistor radio. And she thinks that she hears the SOS call from Amelia Earhart. Or she does hear this SOS call from Amelia Earhart. But like nobody will believe her besides her dad. And so it kind of goes and is forgotten about. And then it flashes forward to when she's 69 and she's like a retired professor in New York City living with her husband. She has grandkids and stuff, and she's talking to a friend who's also a professor, and at lunch, and she's telling her the story because they had just found the heel of what is probably Amelia Earhart's shoe. And so she becomes kind of obsessed with the case again. It's very short, but it's really, really well done. And it's just very... It's interesting because it's kind of like about how we get obsessed with things like that. And you know what was so funny was, after I got done listening to it, I like pulled into this parking lot and I was like Googling and looking up all these articles on Amelia Earhart, which... Interestingly enough, several years ago, these bones that they found on this island, which used to be called Gardner Island, and it's now changed, the name has changed. They found these bones on the island, I think it was in like 1940, and the bones are like missing now, I guess, or something. But based on the parameters and the notes on the bones, they're supposedly Amelia Earhart's bones. So she supposedly survived and then lived on this island and died within the next couple years, which is interesting, you know, like that whole story. I never really thought much about that story. It's not like something that I've ever been that interested in. You know, I've always been, this is kind of on a random side note, but I've always been kind of interested in the idea of past lives. And very much a believer in past lives. And when I read the book Many Lives, Many Masters by Brian Weiss, who was like a Harvard psychiatrist or something, and if you've never heard of the book, it's called Many Lives, Many Masters. It's super intriguing. It's about this guy, he's a psychiatrist, it's a true story. And when it came out, it like changed everything. And he was doing therapy with this woman in Florida about like family issues that she had. And she like supposedly was doing better. And so she stopped coming to him. And then she came back to him to see him again. And they were doing this therapy, and it wasn't like things weren't getting any better with, I think she had anxiety. Things weren't getting any better. And so he suggested doing like hypnosis therapy with her. So he started doing hypnosis therapy with her, like regression therapy, and like taking her back. And he took her back to like when she was 20. She didn't have a lot of memories of her childhood. So he took her back like, you know, when she was 20, and then when she was like in her teen years, and then all the way back until she was like a child. And I think like the last memory was like she was like 2 or 4 or something. She had memories of being like an infant. She was like while she was in hypnosis. And then it was like it went from her being like an infant to all of a sudden she had this memory. I can't remember what the memory was. I think she was like standing in this field and she was like holding a child. And like he knew while she was sharing it, like, because, you know, of course she's in hypnosis, that it wasn't like of this lifetime. And so what he surmised from doing all of these readings with her and then other people was that we have like a collective soul group that we come to Earth with. And we replay our lives many times over and over and over again to learn different things. And that, like, in this life, you know, Alex is my husband, Tanya's my best friend, you know, Caroline's my cousin, but like, and Pee-Pee is like my dog, but like maybe in another life, like, Pee-Pee's my brother, and Alex is my father, and Tanya is my mother. And so we play out these soul lives over and over and over again to learn different things about ourselves. And that's the whole idea of living on Earth, is just to learn these lessons. And he goes, it's very intricate. It's really, really interesting. Because people that are in our lives for long periods of time, it kind of gives different meaning to those relationships. It's interesting. And the book is deeper than that. It has deeper ideas, but I've always kind of held this idea that when people have certain fascinations with certain eras or certain time periods, like they become very fascinated reading a lot. Like, so for example, like if you read a lot about the Titanic, right? Like if you were super, super interested in the Titanic, and maybe not just because you saw the movie or whatever, but let's just say if you were always really, really interested in that, you know, that maybe that's because there was, you know, some tie to the Titanic or that era for you in a past life. I have actually, like, one time, I don't think I've ever shared this on here. So I used to be like really, really into like new agey stuff. And, you know, I think one thing that's important, and I talk a lot about my spirituality, but I don't talk specifically about it, was that when I first got sober, I was at this meeting. It was actually of a different program than I attend now, but it was the program that I got sober in. I got sober in Cocaine Anonymous. So anyway, I was going to a lot of meetings and a lot of different programs at that time. But there was this meeting downtown. It was like a very social meeting on Saturday nights that I used to go to. And I would say I was probably a week or two out of treatment. You know, I never had any kind of, I grew up going to church. I grew up going to a Lutheran inner city church. I went to, in Indianapolis, it was called Our Redeemer. It's no longer here. I found out a couple years ago that they had closed down, which I thought was really sad because my mom was really invested in this church for years and years and years. So my mom was raised Episcopalian and my dad was raised Lutheran. And there's two different kinds of Lutheranism, and the kind that my dad was raised was the more liberal kind. And then there was Missouri Synod, which is like very strict. So I went to a more liberal church. My mom took her faith very seriously. She converted to being Lutheran. She went through the whole confirmation process when she married my dad. And I would say in her life, she was definitely more dedicated. Well, you know, his first half of his life, I think he was more dedicated. But my mom definitely was the older she got. So it was like they deliberately picked this church that we went to. And the reason that they picked it was it was right in the middle of the inner city. My parents wanted me to be raised, seeing many different backgrounds of people and lots of diversity, specifically within a church. So that was why we went to that church, and we went to that church every Sunday when I was growing up. I went through Sunday school, I went to confirmation there, and I was never resistant to it, and I never heard anything, that would make me hate the church. It's nothing to do with that. I just never felt like I got anything out of it. I never internalized anything. And in fact, I can remember being in high school, the area that I went to school has some very large churches. And that are kind of like, I don't even know the word to use. They're just very kind of like cheerleader churches, so to speak. Like, like really getting people involved and like huge teen programs and things like that. So I went to church, I went to high school with a lot of people that went to these churches. There was another church that was like it was close to the church that I went to, but it was, it's Second Pres in Indianapolis, Second Presbyterian. It's a huge church, and they have a huge teen program too. And so I went to high school with a lot of these kids that were vocal talking about their, this is so funny where this vlog has gone, right? But they were very vocal talking about their like religiosity and their belief systems, and they would say things, like well, my Lord Jesus Christ and things like that, which I would never have said in a million years. I didn't feel it in my heart. Like I never internalized it, And, so I can remember thinking they were such phonies. I just remember like thinking, what a bunch of phonies they are. And then, because I just didn't believe that they could actually feel that way. And I was also very punk rock and very anti-authority in high school. Where am I at on time? Okay, and I was very, punk rock and anti-authority in high school. So like all of my friends were Catholic, and they all had to go to Catholic Mass, and, there was like 3 Masses on Saturday and 18 on Sunday or something, and they just thought it was a joke, that they had to like pick one and go, and so I don't know, it wasn't like I had a lot of great spiritual role models. We talked about spiritual things, my friends and I, we talked about the afterlife and what we believed, and we talked about other kind of spiritual ideas, I would say more spiritualism than anything else. And, but none of us were religious. None of my friends and I were. And, so then I get sober, and for some reason, I don't know why, but I'm real kind of anti-Bible thumper. Like, don't get in my face, don't be telling me about, this and this and whatever. So, I'm at this meeting, and I'm probably 2 weeks out of treatment, and the topic is like the second or the third step. The second step is came to believe that a power greater than ourselves will restore us to sanity. And the third step is made a decision to turn our life and our will over to the care of God as we understood Him. And I heard those things, okay, as Bible thumpy, because I didn't really understand at that point. Because they're not. It's not. The whole idea of a 12-step program, I mean, whenever people say to me, like, well, it's very biblical, like, some of the basic texts is written and comes across as very biblical, but it is a non-denominational program. You literally can believe in anything that you want to believe in. I have friends of mine that are agnostics and atheists that are sober within a 12-step program. And, if it wasn't a program where you could believe in whatever you wanted to believe in, I wouldn't be here right now. I wouldn't have made it. So anyway, I got up and I went to the back of the room and I like lit a cigarette, and I was kind of just standing there, it was like my skin was itchy and I wanted to get out of the room. And this woman came up to me. She like got up from the meeting and she came back there, and she was like, why did you leave the meeting? And I was like, because they were talking about God and stuff. And she was like, is that what you heard? And she was like, take what you like and leave the rest. And that made all the difference in my life. Like when she said that, she was like, take what you like and leave the rest. And I just was like, okay, like, I don't even know if I fully understood what she was saying to me in that moment, And then when I was working the steps, like, I really struggled with this idea. There's a line in the book that says God either is or he isn't. Basically saying that God is either everything or he's nothing. And I really, like, it really screwed with me. Because I was like, I'm either all in or all out. You know, like, and that's kind of how I am in life anyway, which I think is so interesting when you think about drug addicts. It's like, and alcoholics. Like, we don't want to trust something that we can't see. Like, we don't want to put any kind of blind faith into some possible higher power that could possibly be out there just to try it, right? Like, you don't have to commit to it for the rest of your life. But we're willing to put anything into our system that could possibly kill us or alter our condition greatly, not knowing what it is. I mean, just think about that, right? So, anyway, when I was working with my sponsor, you know, I would say I was always agnostic. I believed there was something out there, I just didn't know what it was. And so, when I was working my steps with my sponsor at first, you know, that was what was important to him. He was like, you know, can you believe it? Is there something? And I was like, yeah. And it was very much this idea of like, I've had it explained like this to me before, you know, like, you know, are there things that I maybe can't do alone, but I could do with the help of somebody else? You know, and there's a lot of sayings that, like, in early sobriety, like, if you're really struggling with believing in something that, like, God stands for good, orderly direction, or, you know, a lot of people will say, well, you know, like, make a doorknob your higher power, you know, to the meeting. I struggle with that one, but it is what works for other people. Other people make, like, some people make the group their higher power. I think whatever keeps you there at first, you know? Like, for me, I didn't really start... I really do think it's important for us, if you like, even just, you know, the sharp point of a thumbnail, you know, if you have even that much possible belief in something could be out there, then try to leave that open a little bit and go on your own spiritual journey. And what I would recommend is just go read books, find things, watch movies, watch videos on YouTube, listen to music that moves you, and just go on your own spiritual journey, you know? And at 2 years sober, that's what I did. And my sponsor suggested, he asked me what my biggest fear was, and I said death. And he said, find a book that will help you with that. And so I read Sylvia Browne's The Other Side and Back. And I know it sounds absolutely crazy, and whenever I share this in meetings, people always laugh, but like, that book really forever changed me. Had I not read that book, I don't know that... So Sylvia Browne was a psychic that passed away several years ago. She used to be on the Montel Williams show and stuff. But, you know, I don't know, like, for me, if I hadn't read that book, I don't know that the rest of my spiritual journey would have taken on any kind of, I don't know. There would have been no resounding effect from it. And what I mean by that is that started me on this journey of reading about, you know, Christianity and understanding, you know, about Christianity, and then going into reading about, you know, Judaism and Buddhism and Hinduism and Kabbalism and, you know, Native American wisdom, which was huge to me to read some of that. That really resonated with me. And, you know, starting books but never finishing them, like The Tao of Pooh or The Way of the Pilgrim. And, you know, having philosophical conversations. It was at the end. You know, having philosophical conversations with my mom and friends of mine. And my mom, who ended up really loving this book called Living Buddha, Living Christ. And that for her, it wasn't so much about, so to speak, who is your saint or who is your pilgrim. It's the conditions of how they live their life. And that, you know, like, Buddha and Christ both chose to live their life through compassion, love, kindness, tolerance, forgiveness, understanding. And then what started happening for me was that became a spiritual movement for me. That was the way that I wanted to live my life. It wasn't about this overall, what do I believe, you know? When I stopped going to meetings and I came back in and I started listening to leads, I was listening to this one lead, and it was about this woman, and she was, well, I'm not going to get into the specifics of it, but anyway, she was talking to somebody else that was a lot older and had been sober a lot longer than her. And what she suggested to her was that anything that you could possibly believe in would be so large that you wouldn't understand them anyway. And I loved that concept, right? Like, I really loved that concept. And then she said something about the fact that all of our disbelief and our blockage to like our constant resistance to wanting to try to believe in anything is like this huge umbrella that we hold up that blocks us from the sunlight of the spirit. And I really liked that as well. You know, it's like I was constantly looking for, you know, loopholes, so to speak, you know, instead of just saying, well, maybe there is something mystical out there. Maybe there is something larger than me. Maybe there is some residing fact to this. Maybe there is some connectiveness between the human experience, you know? Maybe there is some connectiveness between the idea of, you know, love, compassion, kindness, tolerance, forgiveness, and understanding, which are the key proponents to what I believe today, right? So let's say I get to the end of my life and there is nothing and it is forever blackness, which will just, I won't know it anyway, but that would make me sad, right? But if I get to the end and that's what it is, there is nothing, well, I've lived my life through a certain code that has allowed me to treat people nicer in my life or aim to be a better person. And it has also applied meaning to the things in my life. Because when things happen to me, I'm like, oh, that's a God moment. Like, that's a God thing. Okay. Like, that just happened. Like, that's a sign. Because I'm not a big believer in coincidences. So when things happen in my life, I'm like, okay, that was a God moment. That was a sign, right? Like, things are popping up over here for things to happen. I'm a huge believer in prayer. I'm a huge believer in collective prayer. I've seen it change lives. Whether that's positive affirmation or people just believing in it, I don't know, you know? And it's not like I'm just stupidly, blindly believing all this kind of stuff, but I'm open. And I think that that is what's changed my life, is this openness, whereas before it was like my confusion or my closed-mindedness stopped me from believing in anything. So today, this very short explanation that I was going to get into has now turned into 20 plus minutes. But, you know, today, when somebody presents an idea to me, I'm like, oh, okay. Like, maybe that makes sense. I don't always believe it right away, but I'm like, okay, maybe that makes sense. Like, you know, right now, reading a lot of these books, or having read one and wanting to read more, near-death experiences is very interesting to me. But I go into it being very wary, you know, of like checking motives and whatever. I'll always be that person, you know. I don't know, you know, like, I'm here, you know? I didn't think I would be. I feel like that accounts for something in my life. And even though I talk about it on here, just because I feel like you guys have listened to me ramble for hours and hours before, I might as well share that with you, like what I believe in, but, and I haven't even really gotten to what I believe in. It's a combination of a lot of things. I believe in a very visual afterlife. And I believe that we connect as souls here on Earth, and that we have met many times before. I believe that we make a blueprint for our lives before we come here to learn certain things. I believe that we choose our existence before we come here to learn certain things in each life. I believe that help is out there if I ask for it, but it doesn't always come to me in the way that I want it to come. I think like the movie The Craft, where she says, and this is just my beliefs, you know, nobody has to believe in this, and one of the things I think is great once you become open and considerate of other people's beliefs is that you can start learning about things because other people can share their beliefs with you, you know? I think that, like the movie The Craft, when she says, they're asking her about like her powers. If you've ever seen The Craft, it's like about these 4 witches. It's like it's a really good movie, actually. I'm not a witch. I don't practice Wicca, but I respect people that's their choice. But she says in the movie, like, she'll like wish for like a rain, like a thunderstorm, and like a pipe will break. Well, I think sometimes that's how God works in my life, you know, like, if maybe I'm like wishing for like, I've talked about this before, if maybe like I'm wishing for like a ton of money, right, that it won't necessarily be that like a check will come in my mail tomorrow. Now sometimes it does, but not necessarily, you know. Sometimes it comes in the way of like me having a huge bill that I don't know how I'm gonna pay, and then I have to realign my whole finances and get rid of something so that I can be like, okay, now I have this extra money every month, and then 3 months down the road, I'm like, oh damn, I'm doing pretty good. Like I have like a lot of extra money, and then I realize, oh, okay, so God gave me what I wanted, just not the way that I wanted it, you know? And that's how I believe in those things. I also believe very much in like, this is where, like, if I don't even share this in meetings. I'm like, if I share this, like, people are gonna think I'm so wackadoodle. Okay, so I don't care, whatever. It's late at night, and it's a Saturday night, and this is what we used to do in high school, is talk about this kind of stuff, so I'll talk about it on here. I believe in a hierarchy, to some degree. I believe there is, like, an overriding, presiding, all omnipotent power. I do believe in that. Underneath that, I believe that I have a soul group that I am part of. And when I think of that, I think of different sorts of beings on there. Some of those beings give me signs of wisdom, other compassion, other kindness, if I choose to take it. And they, each of them look to me like certain types of individuals that I've encountered on Earth, and there's even kind of like an alien figure as well, because I think that that's part of it. I think when we think of the afterlife and things like that, we think like just here on Earth. We don't think about other planets and things like that, and I think the afterlife is a combination of all souls. And I also think that that gives me the part of my life that is mystery and intrigue, but I think that I have one soul guide that looks over me. And I've also been told that I have a dog from my childhood. I've been told that by several psychics. All of them, mediums, all pick up on the same dog, which is interesting, don't you think? Are you kidding me? Don't go out of focus. I don't want to stop it. I have to restart it. Okay, I'm gonna stop it. I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. I don't know why stopping and starting it helps it, but I mean, like, I have to turn the whole camera off and then restart it. And I don't know how long it was out of focus. I just looked up. But, so yeah. And I think I'm here to learn certain things and to be as open to the experiences of the world as possible. And I think for all of us, certain things stand in the way of that. For some people, it's self-concept and self-esteem. I think for others, like myself, it's fear. I think I'm a huge person that fear stands in the way of a lot of what I do. So the majority of my life is about overcoming fear. I very much think that we have so many lives here. I have a huge issue with endings and like the ending of songs, endings. You guys are probably like, this is so weird tonight. Well, it's what I believe, I guess. I have such a huge issue with endings. I always have, like, endings of songs, endings of movies. I don't like to listen to the end of a song. Whenever, like, friends of mine and I, like, like, if they, like, live far away and, like, they go back, like, I very much have feelings like I will never see them again. Every major event that was an ending in my life, like the last day of elementary school, junior high, those kinds of things, I was very emotional, like, weirdly emotional for my age. And I wasn't an emotional kid, and, like, that was the other thing, was, like, I wasn't, like, I wasn't, like, a crier and things like that, but, like, those times I would be. And there's been enough things in my life that I've looked at that I feel that this is my last time here on earth. I don't know why I feel that way, I just do. I feel like I've learned what I'm supposed to learn, and I feel that this time is my life to experience what I've learned, and practice what I've learned, and enjoy the world, and enjoy life, and take it for as much as it is, while being the best version of myself that I possibly can be, and really putting into practice the experiences and the learning things. And I think, like, innately, like, I knew that before I came here. Like, I think that was a decision that I made before I came here. And so I know that deep down. And so on any last experience that I have, like, I know it's kind of last experience. So, like, I feel it internally, if that makes sense. I know that sounds crazy, but these are things I think a lot about. I'm not just books and Netflix shows, I know. But, like, or maybe my mind will change and there's nothing to it. I don't know. You know, often I read some spiritual book or whatever, and it completely changes the trajectory of, like, how I feel about things, you know? And then I'm like, all of a sudden, I'm like, oh my God, like, I never thought of it that way before. You know, like, now I see it in a completely different light, and I think about it in a completely different way. You know, I look at, like, it's interesting how much, like, animals, you know, have really been spiritual beings for me in my life. And I think, like, my relationship with Pee-Pee was such a spiritual relationship, you know, like, I mean, I was thinking about that today, like, when I would leave and he would just be sitting there on the bed, and it was almost kind of like we would communicate to me. I mean, and really, it really was. And if you have a relationship like this with your dog or your cat, you'll understand what I'm saying. But it was like, on, like, some deep level, it was weird. It was almost like we communicated. Like, I mean, I would say to him, like, okay, Pee-Pee, I'll be back, you know, or whatever. And he would just kind of, like, look at me. But it was like, he really got it. Like, I really think he understood it. You know, and it's, like, interesting with Boo and Tucker, too, because I don't think they're as sharp as Pee-Pee was. And I definitely have a different relationship with them. But, like, when people tell me that, like, animals don't have souls or personalities, I'm like, how much time have you really spent with animals in your life? Because if you spend any kind of time with them, like, you can definitely see there's a soul there. Like, when I left tonight, like, you know, Boo Radley is, like, he's so hilarious. So Boo Radley likes, this is a new thing. He is liking to be tucked in now, like a human being. He puts his head on the pillow, and then we pull up the blanket, and he just lays there like this on his side. It's the cutest thing. So when I left tonight, Alex's back was turned towards his lamp, and Boo Radley was turned towards me, and they're on the same pillow. It was so adorable. And they're, like, both asleep back to back. And then Tucker's on his comfort blankets. I cannot get him off those comfort blankets that Jennifer made for him. And he's, like, looking around, and he's like, okay, Dad, where are we going? You know? Like, Tucker's very sharp. I wouldn't say as sharp as Pee-Pee, but he's sharp. But the interesting thing about all three of them is that all three of them have completely different personalities, you know? And react in different ways to things. just like watching them outside too, you know, and how they interact, and just like looking at like the way that PP would just like look up at like the air and the world, and it was like he was very aware, you know, and you think like, well, what was going through that little mind of his, you know, like what was he thinking about? He would just like stop and like look up, you know. And interestingly enough, Boo Radley does the same thing. Tucker doesn't really do it. Like, Tucker is very much like when he's outside, he's like sniffing and looking around and doing all kinds of stuff. But like, Tucker has become the player in the house. Like, he loves to like play and wrestle and all that kind of stuff. I think he's bored. I think he's real bored. He and the PP used to do a lot of that. And Boo Radley's not really into it. Like, Boo Radley doesn't love it. And so, which is funny because I said something to Alex, and Alex goes, no, I think Boo Radley's the one that wants to wrestle with him all the time, and wrestle, we call it. And I was like, well, I've noticed like Tucker trying to wrestle with Boo Radley, and Boo Radley kind of is like a little bit like just leave me alone. And I don't know. I think Tucker's bored, and I think he's lonely. But I think that just watching their little personalities, you know, has really made me a very spiritual person. I love the idea of like his eyes on the sparrow. I love that song. I shared this once in like one video that like something that a lot of people wouldn't know about me is that I love like gospel music. I love hymns and gospel music. But like His Eyes on the Sparrow is probably one of my favorite gospel songs. And I love the idea of some kind of higher power out there being all-knowing, you know, like even on just what little Boo Radley is doing out in the yard. Like, I like that idea, you know. There's a safety, I think, that comes with it. So anyway, how did I even start that? I was talking about many lives, many masters. Well, what I was going to say about that was like, you know, I've always been like open to like new age thoughts. And like when somebody comes to me and they're like, hey, have you ever thought about this? Or have you ever thought about like reading this book? I'm totally open to any of that. The only spiritual like belief system the only religion or whatever you want to talk about that I've ever really struggled understanding, like I really didn't get it, was Kabbalism, which is the mystical side of Judaism. I didn't get it. Like, I just really didn't get it at all. And I took a class on like, I don't even want to speak to this because I'm going to start sounding ignorant when I speak on it. But I took a class on Islam, and it was about all of the different tribes and stuff. I was so lost, you guys. I mean, I was so clueless. I didn't get any of it. But it did give me kind of a better understanding, because then he kind of dumbed it down for us. Now, you know, this was 25 years ago, but he kind of dumbed it down for us as far as like, there's like a bicycle riding across the street, right? Is it stopping? There's two of them. Where are two people why are they out riding? It's 3:53 a.m., my lord. But it kind of gave me a better understanding of what goes on over there a little bit, and why it has existed for hundreds and hundreds of years, you know, like this kind of religious war idea. I do understand it a little bit better now. But the rest of it I kind of got. You know, I have several friends that are Buddhist, like several friends that grew up Buddhist, and then several friends that are practicing Buddhist now. We actually have a really like beautiful Buddhist temple in Indianapolis. And then I have a very good friend of mine that is Hindu. And And she explains things to me all the time that I don't understand. She actually bought me a bracelet a couple years ago. And it was like this thing that you give to like your cousin or something for like this one holiday. It was like this red bracelet. It looked like a Kabbalah bracelet, but it wasn't. And I was supposed to wear it until it fell off because it was like good luck or whatever. And so she's always explaining like the religious holidays to me and like the celebrations and things like that, and the outfits that they wear for weddings and all of that. So when I don't know something, I try to go to the source and like have somebody educate me about it, not just reading a book. But I haven't really met anybody that practices Kabbalism. I don't really get it. I really don't. I mean, I know it's about like, I read this, I don't know. I read like one whole book and then part of another one. And I just was so confused. I just was so confused by it. Something about filling the vessel with light. I don't know. I didn't get it. Speaking of which, this coronavirus, how scary is that, right? I read all these articles today. Okay, so one came up on the Facebook. This is why I don't get on the Facebook. Facebook's of the devil, okay? So one was posted on the Facebook, and then I started Googling it and reading articles, and it was about, and this is the kind of stuff that I fall into that I don't really believe in, but I'm like, okay, there's these articles that people are writing now, and they're saying that the coronavirus is the plague that's predicted in, oh God. Why can't I, the apocalypse, why can't I think of what the part of in the Bible is? I've literally lost my mind. Shoot, Peter, come on now. I know everybody out there is like shouting it at the camera. This is why I am so stupid right now. I cannot remember what the part of the very end of the Bible, the four horsemen of the apocalypse, and God, why can't I think of what it's called? I literally, you guys, like, I need to start taking that ginkgo biloba. Because it's like, as you get older, like, true story, like, you could have known somebody's name for 30 years, and then all of a sudden you can see their face, and you literally can't think of their name to save your life. Revelations. But there's all these articles out there that are saying that this is the plague that they predicted, and I hope not. This iced coffee is almost better the longer you wait. Like throughout the day, it tastes a little bit better sometimes. Like this was perfect today. It was absolutely perfect. Tomorrow, Alex has a brunch that he is going to at 11:30. And I don't really know. Like, I know the girl who's having it. It's like for a birthday brunch. It's kind of like a small thing, I think. But I don't know a whole lot of the other people. And he was like, do you want to go? And I was like, well, I told you that I wasn't sure originally because he had asked me like 3 weeks ago. And he was like, well, I would love for you to go, but like it's Sunday and I know you have your book club and you're going to want to get home because I have my book club live stream tomorrow. And he's like, so, he was like, so if we're going to be standing there and you're going to be like ready to go, he was like, you know, like maybe we should drive separately or whatever. And I was like, why don't you just go and I'll sleep in? I was like, do you care? And he was like, well, I mean, I would love to have you there. And I was like, okay, do you want me to go or do you not want me to go? And he was like, no. He was like, you do what you want. And he goes, it doesn't really matter. I don't care either way. I go, do you really not care? He goes, I don't care either way. So I said, okay. I said, I'm going to sleep in tomorrow. So I'm sleeping in tomorrow while he's at this breakfast brunch thing. He'll have more fun anyway. He can schmooze with all of his people. And so I don't know if we'll go to brunch after that. If we don't, then we'll probably do dinner tomorrow night. I can't imagine he'll want to do brunch twice. But it's like a brunch buffet. So it's probably better that way anyway. I think it's like a brunch buffet, he said. So that's tomorrow. And then I have my book club live stream at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And Mel and I were talking on the phone tonight. We talked for a while. I couldn't talk forever because I was trying to finish this book before midnight, which I did. It was called Cut and Run. It was okay. It was this book about I was trying to finish it before midnight because then it was a February book. Okay. So anyway, it was called Cut and Run, and it was like one of those Audible originals. I gave it 4 stars because it got real cute in the last hour, but it was about this guy and this girl, and they're kidney thieves. So they steal kidney. It's a dark comedy. So they steal kidneys from people, but only people that are like dishonest and bad. Anyway, but the whole thing reads like a script to like a TV show. So it's like a live radio show. I'm kind of living for these like live radio show kind of things. Like I used to listen to those like radio shows back in the day, so I kind of love it. But anyway, Mel and I were talking tonight. We planned our whole weekend. Well, not really, but we just planned like when we're gonna do this and this and this. Her husband wants to make me vegetarian chili. Is that not the sweetest thing in the entire world? So he's been like looking up recipes and stuff, and so yeah, I'm real excited. I think one night we're gonna like all hang out together. One night we're gonna go to dinner, like all 3 of us, and then one night Mel and I are just gonna go to dinner and do like a sleepover. So it'll be really fun. I'm super excited, and we've got all kinds of stuff planned. Yeah. So today I got up. What did I do today? Today I got up. Alex had some meetings that he had to go to, but he was done, like, he slept in. He, like, woke up this morning, okay, setting 15 alarms. He, like, has all these alarms, and he, like, wakes up and he, like, turns it off, and then he'll, like, go in and he'll, like, erase 3 alarms. He literally sets, like, 10 alarms, okay. So I was like, babe, these alarms are keeping me up. So, he was like, well, I'm gonna sleep for another hour or 2. And I said, okay. So he ended up like leaving the house at like 9 something. And he was done early. And he called me and he was like, okay, I'm on my way home. And I was like, well, I haven't even left the house yet. And I'm doing a face mask. And then I'm gonna take a shower. And I'm gonna do some videos around here. And he goes, okay, well, I'm gonna go to the mall because he wanted to use his gift certificate at Urban Outfitters that I got him for Christmas because he was gonna buy some things for San Diego for next weekend. Which they have like this giant Urban Outfitters out there, which is it's a really nice one. Where am I at on time? I can't even really see. Okay. So anyway, so he met his friend at the mall, and then so yeah, he did that, and then he texted me. Oh, he called me earlier in the day, like while he was gone, and he was like, or did he tell me when he came home? I think he told me when he got home, because he got home at like 4 or something. And, yeah, 4 or 5-ish. And he was like, his uncle was back, and so they were doing like a family dinner tonight. And so his mom was like wanting us to come over there at like 8:30 for this like family dinner. And I was like, okay. And I was like, I had nothing else to do tonight. I was gonna maybe live stream. So I was like, sure, that'll be fun. So we were sitting there, and I got my videos and all that kind of stuff up that I wanted to get up. And then he was watching Schitt's Creek. Okay, let me just say that when I tell you that my husband is obsessed with Schitt's Creek, he is obsessed. Let this car pass me by, because it is like intent on going somewhere. It's pissed now because it got a hard line. It's like not gonna cross this line. Okay, there you go. You can pass me now. When it's always these huge pickup trucks too. When I tell you that my husband is obsessed with that show, like he will even tell you like the battery is flashing, right? He will even tell you that like he's obsessed with the show. I'm just gonna keep on doing it until it stops, because I don't know where I'm gonna pull in here. I'm gonna pull into like a housing addition. Oh shoot! I thought I threw the battery. I do have another battery though. But he said today, he's like, I'm watching the series over again. And I'm like, you are? He's like, yeah, this is like the second time I've watched this episode. And it was the one where they were like taste testing Moira's wine. He's like obsessed. He watches like all of these interviews. I think he has a little bit of a celebrity crush on that Dan Levy. Is it is it Levy or Levy or Levy or whatever? I don't know. It's that guy's son that's been in all of those Christopher Guest movies, who's hilarious. And the guy is good looking too, and he is so funny on the show. But like, Alex watches like every interview he's ever done. And like, he's really obsessed with like Catherine O'Hara. I'm like, you do realize that she's like the mom in Home Alone, and she's done like all the Christopher Guest movies. And Alex is like, what are the Christopher Guest movies? And I'm like, Best in Show, like Waiting for Guffman. He was like, I don't know what you're talking about. I was like, oh my God, see? Like, it takes like a show for like Schitt's Creek to come out. Well, so is the guy that plays her husband in the show, who's that Dan Levy's dad. Why can't I think of his name? Why can I not think of his name? The guy that has 2 left feet. He's Catherine O'Hara's husband in Best in Show. Anyway, he's so funny. He was also in American Pie and all that kind of stuff. He's a really, really good character actor, but just comedic genius, right? So Alex is like, you need to start watching Schitt's Creek. You need to I'm like, I need to start watching about 15 shows. I just finished Cheer. I'm so proud of the fact that I actually finished another show. And then everybody is talking about this show on social media about this kid that got killed, and it's something about social workers and all this kind of stuff, and the mom is like, I don't know, but like, everybody's talking about this, so I'm like, well, I guess I should probably be watching the show since everybody's talking about it. So I might read that, or I might watch that. And then I also want to watch Mindhunter, which is what our book club live stream is about tomorrow. And then I also want to watch, oh my God, Wentworth I still have to watch. The Unbelievable. Oh, you know what? I got on Audible tonight. This is why I got an Audible tonight. Well, to buy the Peterisms book, which, by the way, the March Peterisms book, so if you're reading the inspirational, motivational books, the book for March is You Are a Badass, and I think it's by Jen Sincera. I already owned it in my library, so we're just going to keep that book. I was going to do Unf Your Life, but I'm going to do You Are a Badass. Okay, I will be back in just a second. Okay, back. I heard that book was really, really good, You Are a Badass. What was I talking about before that? I don't even know. Anyway, I have all these shows I want to watch on Netflix. Oh, that's what I was going to say. I really want to watch The Handmaid's Tale, but I want to read the book first. I mean, it's the Margaret Atwood novel. The Margaret Atwood novel is just like, supposedly like this phenomenal classic. And when I was getting my English degree, we read Margaret Atwood short stories, and that was in 1991. So, and The Handmaid's Tale was already out, I think, then. So I want to read that because she just came out with a sequel to it, and I want to read those two, and then I'm going to watch the show, is what my plan is to do. So anyway, that's why, but then I got on Audible and I didn't even buy those books. I don't even know why. But anyway, what was I going to say? So yeah, so we went over to Alex's mom's house tonight. And it was Alex and I and his mom and grandma and his uncle and his then his aunt that lives here. Carlos and Liliana came over. The kids were at a sleepover with, I was like trying to think of like who else was there. Alex's uncle Ed had just gotten off work, so he didn't come over. And then Carlos and Liliana came over. They had stopped over to a friend's their house who like just moved, and they have like kids the same age as Carlitos, and so they asked Carlitos and Sebastian to spend the night. And Carlos and Liliana were really excited that they got the night on a Saturday night alone. And so it was fun. Alex's mom made chili, and she puts chili over rice, and I couldn't have the chili, but it was just white rice. And then I took butter and I put it over, like I put little cubes of butter, not cubes, but like little pieces of butter over the rice with salt. And I put it in the microwave. It reminded me vaguely, and I put some cheese on it too. It reminded me vaguely of those little alphabets I used to eat when I was a kid. Okay, it was the bomb. I don't even know how to explain it. I was so hungry, and I was like telling Alex, I was like, okay, your mom's chili dinners are, like, family dinners are hard because there's never really anything there for me to eat, you know, like, his mom, she's always so nice, but she's like, do you want me to make you an egg? And I'm like, I wasn't really thinking that an egg was what I wanted. Do you know what I mean? Like, and I feel bad, which is why I usually just bring, like, chips and salsa or chips and hummus, and I just sit there and eat that, right? But I had forgotten to get some, and I didn't want to stop on the way. So I was like, I'll just eat the rice, and I'll have some crackers, and then that'll hold me over until we leave, and then I can get something on the way home. And I honestly was going to get something bad. And so when I was there, I just had this rice, and it was really, really good. I mean, it was literally white rice with butter on top, microwaved. I mixed it all up. I put a little mozzarella cheese in it and mixed it up, and it kind of all melted together, and then I put salt on it. It was delicious. It was delicioso. It was so good. I loved it. And then his grandma had made a coconut cake that she used to make when they were all little. And so she made this coconut. She's so sweet. She's absolutely so sweet. And it was fun. It was real homey. We just sat around and talked. And Carlos went over to the couch after he ate and fell dead asleep. And Alex and Liliana were like, she kept on singing that Rufus de Sol song. She was like, treat you better. But she wasn't singing it right. And they were laughing. And Alex was showing everybody TikToks. It was just real family. It was really nice tonight. And so we stayed over there I stayed over there till like 10:30. Maybe I left about, because we didn't stay over there. We got there, I don't know what time we got over there. But, I think I stayed a little bit short. Maybe I stayed there till like, I guess we got there like right at 8:30. And I stayed probably till like 10-ish, 10:15. And then called Mel, and then finished my book, and then went home. And like Alex left right after I did. And, he went home, and then like I finished my book, and then I went home because I was like, I'm gonna lay down for a little bit. I was so tired. And after I ate with the heat on in the car and listening to the book and talking to Mel, I was just so cozy and warm. And so I came home and I said, are you going to bed already on a Saturday night? And he was like, yeah. And so he was going to bed, and so I was like, okay. He was showing me these TikToks in bed, and he was laughing his butt off, thinking they were all so funny. And then so I was like, okay. So I lay down, and I said, I'm just going to lay down for an hour. He goes, oh, sure, you're just going to lay down for an hour. He goes, and you'll wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning and go vlog. He started laughing. I go, no, I'm not. But I woke up at 2, and then I got on the Audible, and I bought a bunch of books. But not the books that I wanted to buy. Oh, I had to buy a new camera today, too. So the camera that I'm using right now still works, and I'm trying to use it. I don't know when I'm gonna, well, I think I'm gonna do an unboxing for my review channel of my new camera, but, so, what was I gonna say? I went to Best Buy tonight. I knew I was gonna have to buy a new camera. So I went in there, and the camera that I'm filming on right now, I mean, it's like literally, like, you cannot see it, but it's like, well, it's all to the left-hand side, is all shattered. And here's my fear, okay, is that it's shattered enough that in the corner of the screen, it's literally like pieces are missing. My fear is that if I put it in a backpack to go to Phoenix, or if I put it in a backpack when we go to Miami, or wherever, if I'm vlogging or anything, right, I'm afraid the whole screen's gonna come out, and then if the whole screen comes out, will the camera work at all? I don't know, right? The other thing is the back won't close down. I mean, if you saw it, you'd say, oh, this is done. Like, this isn't even repairable. I don't even know how it's working right now, in all honesty. Like, it must have had no internal damage whatsoever. But the back won't close. There's a screw that's jammed, like, sideways. But I'm not gonna stop using it. It's like, let me get my money's worth out of it, you know? But, like, you know, I was talking to Mel tonight, and she's like, you use the hell out of your, like, camera. So I went to Best Buy, and what I have is a G7X Mark II, okay? And it's basically like the vlogging camera that a lot of YouTubers use. It's really easy, it's really handheld. I think the reason I found out about it was from a Joey Graceffa video. He used it, and then I think at the time I said something to Trisha Paytas, and she used the same camera, and I was using a Sony Alpha 5000, and everybody was using this Canon, and I was like, I'm gonna switch over because it's basically the same price, and everybody loves this camera, and whatever. So I did that, and I love this camera. I love it so much. The only thing I don't love is that it goes in and out of focus. I think, and do you know what was really interesting to me was that, like, cameras are expensive, but like, and first of all, you do not need a camera, okay, to have a YouTube channel. But I will tell you this. I was gonna say what was interesting was the prices of the cameras. So, like, I know YouTubers that pay thousands and thousands of dollars for their camera, right? Jessica Kent, who I did a video with, who does like the prison channel, like the quality of her videos is phenomenal. And she uses a Canon, but she uses one that, like, I don't know what it is, but I watched this video where she was talking about like what kind of camera she uses and all this kind of stuff, and she had like upgraded her camera. Well, when I met with her, she had literally just bought this camera. Like, she didn't even know how to use it. Like, she was like, she was self-teaching her, like, she was self-taught, and she was showing me this camera, and it was a beautiful camera, right? This Canon camera. But I think I'm gonna, like, in June or something, I think I'm gonna buy that camera to, you know, y'all know I'm really thinking about doing this cooking channel, right? Like, I'm really thinking about doing it. Well, if I do it, it's gonna make it easier for me, and also for my review channel, if I would ever upgrade things on my review channel, to have two cameras, one facing me and one facing down at what I'm doing, right? That then I could just like clip the pieces together. That's not hardcore editing, it's just not. So anyway, but her camera is fantastic. Well, when I was there today at Best Buy, they had her camera. And I couldn't believe that it wasn't like, I thought it was like the super expensive camera, and it wasn't. And I was like, oh, that camera's really doable. But here's the deal. So I go in there, and they had the G7X Mark I, okay, which I never had that one. I just went right to the Mark II because it had just come out. I got, so the Mark II, the one I'm using right now, this is like a $600 camera. It's like $599. Well, then they had just come out with the Mark III, which was like $200 more. And I'm like, you know what? I haven't bought a camera in like over a year and a couple months. I don't remember when I bought my last camera. But I was like, I'm still gonna use this one. I'm gonna upgrade to this camera. And he was telling me things about it, so I'm like, fingers crossed, maybe it'll be like a little bit higher quality camera. But for a while, I think I'm gonna use this one for vlogging, and I'm gonna use that one for videos at home. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, you don't have to buy, like, equipment to be a YouTuber. I mean, I know YouTubers that don't do anything but film on their phones. But I will say, like, you can tell the difference. Like, I really need to get a microphone for my videos at home. You know, like, you can tell a huge difference from somebody that has a microphone on their camera and somebody that doesn't. Like, Jessica's another example of that. Like, she showed that on that video. She has, you know, a microphone. And I know most YouTubers that I know have a microphone. And it sounds completely different. Like, if you watch my videos, you can tell that I'm like in a high ceilinged place and it's echoing. Or even if like my bathroom videos for my review, like if I had a microphone, like just a microphone that you hook onto your camera, it's real simple, right? If I had that, like the sound quality would be 100% better. So that's something else I want to get. I also want to get a small ring light that I can kind of like move from place to place to place, because I have this huge ring light right now. And I want to get a smaller one that I can move from like place to place to place and take with me when I'm doing like reviews, or like move into the kitchen, because I don't have like a small one that I can take into the kitchen. Ring lights are real cheap. You can get those on Amazon for not too expensive. I think Alex has bought me both of my ring lights as Christmas presents. So yeah. I need to get gas. I'm actually gonna pull in here and get gas. I'm down to like a quarter of a tank. And then I think I'm gonna get off here and end this because I wanna go listen to my audiobook. So I'm gonna get off here now. Oh my God, you guys, look, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 police officers with their big SUVs. Well, I feel safe pulling in here. Safe and protected. Look at all those SUVs, they're beautiful. All right. Oh, my lady's here tonight, good. I'm gonna get off here now. So, this is like the first time I've ever done like a stopped outro. Anyway, I'm gonna get off here now. So I hope you guys are having an amazing Sunday, unless you have other plans. But like I always say, don't have other plans. Make the most of your day. Do something fun today. Do something exciting. Do something that when you look back on your life 5 or 10 years from now, you will be really, really proud of yourself for doing today and making this decision to do going forward. And yeah, what else? Just do something relaxing. You know, like if you work today, when you come home, take an hour, take a bath, do a little spa, you know, put on some nice lotion, you know, light a candle, watch a TV show, enjoy yourself. If you have the day off, do something fun, you know. Thank you for watching my vlog. Maybe this is the way you relaxed and unwound, I don't know. And if nobody else has told you this today, I love you. Make sure that you look at yourself in the mirror every single day and you say, I love you. You are handsome. You are beautiful. You are worthy. You matter. You are a good person. And good things are coming your way. Today is going to be your, what else do I say? I forget. You matter. And today is going to be an amazing day. Full of just happiness, joy, and laughter, good opportunities. And 2020 is your year full of success, and all of your dreams are going to come true. It's going to be the greatest year ever. And most importantly, make sure that you pass it on to somebody else and let them know how important they are to you. Just call somebody up and say, hey, you know what? I was thinking of you today. I love you. And I just wanted you to know how much you mean to me. And also practice random acts of kindness. And don't tell anyone. Just do it, but don't tell anyone. Nobody needs to know. Nobody needs to know. It's not the point. The point is that we're just putting kindness and good and positivity out there into the world. And if you made it this far, please put a big blue heart or small blue heart in the comment section below and give this video a big thumbs up. Make sure that you're still subscribed to my channel. And I love you guys so much. And thanks for watching. And I appreciate you. It means the world to me that you allow me to do this every day. So I love you guys, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye. Love ya. Since I didn't do it yesterday, I had to come back and give you guys one more I love you. I love you. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye. Sweet dreams.